Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers, such as one of the Tampa Bay real estate queens herself, Ms. Kathy Stange, is in the house today. How are you, Kathy?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm glad that you can make it today. Kathy, for those of you who don't know, won the Local Legend Award at our Tampa Bay Real Producer Agent Choice Awards event. This was earlier this year, back in March. That was fun to kind of see you celebrate on stage with everybody when the confetti was popping and all that fun stuff. So we've also featured Kathy. She's the cover feature actually in our was it October, I believe, October 2023 issue. So if you need to learn more about Kathy, you can read her issue there, and I'm sure you'll learn some things from this podcast as well. So for people who might not know you, why don't we start a little bit with your background on just how you got yourself to Tampa eventually and when that was, and how you got interested in real estate. So we'll start there.
Well, let's say the Vinoy Hotel is the reason I'm here in the area.
Beautiful hotel.
Beautiful. And my former husband was the general manager there.
Okay.
And so we moved to St. Pete from Atlanta, and I joined a firm downtown, and that's how I got to St. Pete. And then I changed firms. And
were you in real estate in Atlanta?
I was in real estate in Atlanta.
Okay. So you've been in real estate now for, I think you remember you telling me, over 40 years. Is that right?
40 plus years, yes.
And that started in Atlanta?
Nope. It started in Destin, Florida.
Really?
Destin and Fort Walton, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what had you start in Destin and then go to Atlanta? How did that journey, what was that journey like?
It's been real interesting.
Yeah.
To have been in 3 different markets. I started in Destin, Fort Walton, selling condos.
Okay.
And I was with a mom and pop type of organization. And I went to them after being there 5 years and being their top agent for 5 years, and let them know that I was moving to Atlanta. And so I left Destin, moved to Atlanta, and started my career and continued my career there, because I joined a 100% company, and
that's always a good incentive.
Always, and knew no one, or thought I didn't know anybody.
Now, what is that? Why you wanted to go to Atlanta? Because of that offering, or did you have another reason that brought you to Atlanta?
My husband's work.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
He was in the hotel business, and so they moved him to Atlanta. Pine Isle, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
And so I joined a company and started working, and started calling all the people that I had sold properties to in the Destin, Fort Walton area to let them know that I was in Atlanta, and if there was anything I could do to help them or their family, to please give me a call, and I'd be delighted to do that. I got a call, and I started with first-time home buyer.
Mm-hmm.
The mom and dad had, the son was getting married. They were going to buy a home, and they wanted to help them. And could I help them find the right house?
And that's how it all worked.
That's how it all works. And that's...
How long were you working in Atlanta?
5 years.
Okay. And then your husband got relocated to the Vinoy?
Correct. From Atlanta to St. Pete, and I moved, and...
And fell in love with the Tampa Bay market ever since, huh?
Ever since I've been here. So
did your husband retire, and that's what stopped the moving, or did you guys just say, we're not going anywhere else, like
no,
we found our home?
He found a place he'd rather go, and whenever he said, I'm going here, I said, I'm staying here. End of conversation.
That makes sense. So
Yeah.
there is something romantic, I would say, about St. Pete. It's a cool town.
It is a great town.
And that's what you call home now, right?
Yes.
And so when you came down, obviously real estate was already in your DNA, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've already had that background and experience. Did you find it challenging to kind of get started again in another market, or was it easier for you since you did it before in Atlanta?
Well, at the time that I moved here to St. Pete, we were operating on a traditional type of real estate. Back in the day, 28 years ago, it was, you sat at the front desk, took floor time, and took phone calls.
Yep.
And I had been with another company in Atlanta, 100% company, and my leads were my leads, and my lead generation was my lead generation, and my contacts were my contacts. They didn't belong to the broker. And so when I moved to St. Pete, there was only one real estate company in downtown St. Pete at that time. And I went, after a year, I went to the broker and I said, you know, this doesn't seem quite fair. I want to spend this amount of money on marketing and I'm willing to do it. However, this is what I'd like. I want to get the calls on my listings. Oh, really? That's not the way I work. And I went, oh, well, hello. You just fired your competition.
Interesting. So did you start your own shop then after that? Or did you found someone else that was willing to work with you?
I went to Seminole and joined the office that I'm with now.
Interesting. Okay. So was that your first experience with Keller Williams?
Yes.
It was. Okay.
Yes.
And so in your opinion, like what has been, you've been with Keller Williams now for what, 25 years?
At least.
About 25 years
Plus,
or so?
Yeah.
And so why do you call that home? Like what is it about KW that you love?
The culture.
Yeah.
Culture is the main thing of that I think draws people to our company. Also, the WI4C2Ts, which is the mantra of what we represent as agents. The camaraderie, the education, the support that we give agents, and I was given when I first started with Keller Williams. I teach in the market center. And training new agents, giving them the support that they need in order to fly. I call it, I'm kind of a mentor. I am a mentor in the office, and I'm the eagle and they're the eaglets. And my goal is to get those eaglets out of the nest as quick as we can.
Well, it's awesome that it's fairly unique, I think, to be able to have someone with your level of experience that has seen so many different markets, right? I mean, to be in real estate for over 40 years, working in 3 different markets, as you said earlier, like you've experienced a time in real estate where it was more of sitting in an office and having the people foot traffic coming in, and that was a different way of doing business, right?
Right.
And you've seen business really evolve in many ways. I'm assuming you've also seen agents who didn't evolve with the changes.
Absolutely.
Right. And then they found themselves out of the business
Right.
At a certain period of time. So what do you think has been the keys for you, Kathy, to just still be successful? Like, you know, even I think you're still doing personal volume, right?
Yes, I am.
I saw last year, I mean, from what I saw anyway, over 20 something $1 million in personal volume over, you know, so it's not like you slowed down, right? You're still a top producer individually. And we'll talk a little bit too about your experience with like coaching and I don't know if you've ever built your own team necessarily, but we can talk about that. Very cool. But I am curious, Ben, about like just from your experience of seeing why agents get themselves out of the business versus how you've been able to sustain a successful business as long as you have. What do you think are the keys to that, to build that type of sustainability, for lack of a better word?
Don't quit.
That's good advice.
Yeah, and I know my role. I know what my job description is, and it's to lead generate, lead follow up. It's to go on appointments, and when I'm not going on appointments, I'm writing offers. I'm practicing my skill set every day, and I think that's probably what's kept me in the business. And then if I don't have an appointment, I pretend I'm on an appointment, and I practice my scripts consistently each and every day. At least once a day, I'm script practicing.
That's awesome. You've been doing that for years now, huh?
Yeah, you'd think I know it all, but I don't.
Yeah, it's funny though, because you would think there's so many agents out there, I would imagine, who feel like after a certain period of time that they don't have to do that anymore.
No,
you know,
you have to continue to do it.
Refining that skill is so important.
Every day, refining your skills.
I'm a huge sports fan, so it makes me think of like these athletes that you look at as legends, right? That have been in the game as long as they have, whatever the names are, the Tom Bradys, the Michael Jordans of the world. But if you were to interview them, they say what you just said, right? It's like, it's what they're willing to do when the lights are not on and what they're doing behind the scenes in the practice in the gym that allows them to have that muscle memory, that repetition.
Right.
That eventually, you know, when the shining lights are on, that's why they perform the way they do.
Right.
And I think it's the same mentality really that you just described. It's that practice that you've put in to be able to perfect your craft, perfect your scripts, you know, be sharp when things do evolve and change. And I think that just speaks a lot to your work ethic and how you've been able to maintain a successful business. That's a tip for anybody out there who wants to get into this industry or maybe is already in it, but you're struggling or you're wondering if it's really going to be sustainable for you. This is the queen of that right here, right?
It is sustainable if you continue to practice and you have the habits that you need. I call it mindset, skill set and habits.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then you go to your mindset. Can I do this today? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I am, and I am.
Sometimes we got to talk to ourselves.
Yeah, we got to
don't
talk to ourselves because it's not easy to sustain, and it is if you have the habits and the schedule. And if it's not on your schedule, it doesn't happen.
Time blocking.
Time blocking.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a huge key.
And then you set your goals. And what do you want to do this year? What do you want to do? What do you want to do today?
Right.
You know, what do you want to do that's going to impact your business or another person's life today that will push you forward?
I want to go back for a second. Before you were in real estate, did you have another career?
I was a teacher and a coach.
A coach for?
Girls athletics.
Really?
In 1973, I became, I was a teacher, and I became the coach at Everglades City High School down south of Naples.
Nice.
And Marco Island, and started a girls athletic program in 1973 when Title IX became law.
So did you grow up in Florida?
Yes.
In what area?
I've lived in Jacksonville, and I've also lived in Palatka, and I've lived in Destin, Destin, Fort Walton area. So I've lived basically all over Florida. At one point, I was over on the East Coast, and I didn't like it over there. I was in Boca Raton. I went, I think that I'd like to go on the other side of the state. So anyway.
What do you think it was about real estate that was most appealing to you to want to be in this business and get licensed initially?
Initially, it was the money. And now it's not about the money. It's about, whose life can I impact today? Who can I help? Whether it be a buyer, a seller, another agent. What is my day going to look like? And I wake up each morning thinking, okay, today's the day that I do what? That's going to impact a life. And it's not about the money. It's about what can the money do?
Making a difference.
Make a difference. And so that's what sustains me and keeps me rolling each and every day.
I love it. Did that evolve too, Kathy, over the years? Because you said you started because of the money, which I think is a motivator for a lot of people when they first get into real estate, for sure. And so, have you always also done your own production during the years, or was there a time where you didn't and you were just focused on team building or on recruiting or on coaching? How has that evolved or changed at all?
I've done all of it.
Okay.
I owned the Market Center in St. Pete at one time. I sold it. And became an agent and became a shareholder. And that worked better for me because it was during a real tough emotional time in my life. And I think we all go through those. It wasn't a downturn. It was a personal issue with my family. And I needed to focus more on the children. And so I think that through the years, again, I think of life as seasons. You have the winter, and it's cold, baby. It's cold.
Amen.
Anybody ever experienced that one? And then the spring comes.
Yeah.
And the flowers bloom.
It's hopeful.
And it's hopeful. I mean, and so I think of life and my career in seasons like that. And I've had all of those. I've had all of the seasons in my life and in my business.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I've spent some time attending Tony Robbins events over the years, and he teaches that same philosophy of all businesses go through these seasons, and you have to understand how to identify them and then how to react to them. Right. And this is kind of an interesting market for many people in real estate. Some people would say this is winter, right? For some.
Yeah, but then for some it's spring.
It's true. I mean, each person could view it completely differently, right?
Each of us could, because how many calls did you make today?
Right.
How many texts did you send? How many appointments did you make? That's if you just keep working the garden. Seeding the garden, so to speak, the fruit will come.
What have you enjoyed the most, or has been the most fulfilling for you in real estate? The coaching side, working with the agents, developing those relationships, supporting them, or working with your clients and just helping people with the transactions on the real estate side? I'm sure you love both for different reasons.
Yeah, I love both.
Is there something that's resonated with you more? Like, where do you think your passions lie most?
I think my passions are going to lie more towards the coaching and mentoring new agents coming into the business. And like I say, it does my heart good when I see an agent fly. Mm-hmm. They leave the nest and they fly, and they continue to go to training. You can't ever stop learning. You've got to learn something new every day. Never stop training.
Yeah, that's another great tip for sure. Mm-hmm. Once you feel like you've learned it all, then you're usually heading on your way out.
You're on your way out.
Yeah.
Right.
And then did you coach in real estate prior to KW? Or did that start with your KW experience?
Started with KW.
And so how long now have you been in that coaching type of a role?
It's more of a mentoring role than a coaching role. People watch what I do. They listen to what I say. Mm-hmm. They listen to my calls. I've had a lot of agents just go sit outside my office and listen to my phone calls.
It's awesome.
And so I've been doing this now for probably at least the past 10 years.
So leading by example. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned do you have your own team?
I have a team. I have a buyer's agent.
Are you actively recruiting for that?
Yes, okay. I am. I'm at level 4 with Keller Williams. I don't want to go too much further than that. That means I'm going to add, people, and I'm not a good manager. It's not that I don't like people. I want self-starters.
What does your team look like now? How many agents do you have?
Buyer agent, an admin, a transaction coordinator, and myself. Okay. That's it. 4.
And is that changed too over the years in terms of size of the team and how big it's gotten at one point? Or?
Yeah, I trend to keep it small.
Yeah.
Because I can manage the small. When it gets too big, and I know how to do it. Should I decide to do a big team, I could do it.
Of course.
I have no doubt I can do it.
You've seen many people do it.
Right.
We've interviewed and featured in Real Producers people from your own office that have pretty large organizations and have, gone down that road.
Well, the thing that I look at is my profit. Mm-hmm. Where's the profit? Mm-hmm. And when you start paying salaries, the profit gets, and you can do that. You can build whatever you want, whatever makes you comfortable. And what makes me comfortable is keeping it small and bringing as much profit to the bottom line as I can.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And
why are we in business? To have profit.
That's why most people should be in business. Number one, right? Is at least tracking that. And I think a lot of times people think they view the gross revenue instead of the profit. Right. There's a great book out there called Profit First that talks about these principles. But yeah, I think ultimately that's the core of any successful business, right? Right. Knowing what it takes to move that profit in the direction you want.
And like you say, a lot of agents say, "Oh, I do $100 million a year." Well, how many people are helping you to do that?
Right.
You're not doing it. You've got people behind you and helping you. Then you've got salaries and you've got expenses, because your profit is your gross minus your expenses equals your profit.
That's right. And that's the key number, right? That's the number that lets you sleep well at night.
Absolutely.
What's been your best year that you can remember?
Oh, goodness gracious. I've always done well. Just depends on, the market, of course, but I can succeed in any market. There's no buts.
Sure.
And I succeed in any market.
Yep. Do you remember whether it be the number of families that you helped in a certain year or even a volume number that sticks out to you that was a peak in your career?
No. I set out every year, and I have it in my I have note cards that I read. I set out to at least help 40 families a year.
Awesome.
And then what's happened is I've done the 40 families, but I've done less than that because my price point moved up into the luxury division. And once you get in that division, you don't have to do. You could do 40, but you don't have to do 40 to keep the profit where I want it to be.
Has that been most of your focus lately, the luxury side?
I've done a lot of luxury. I'm from first-time home buyers all the way to luxury. If I have a referral, I work mainly, people refer to me, and I'm not going to turn away someone that's been referred.
Sure.
If they're a first-time home buyer or if they're a $5+ million buyer, it doesn't matter.
You'll
to me.
work with either one.
Or I let my buyer's agent work with them.
How much of you talked earlier about time blocking and your schedule now, Kathy. So I'm curious, how much of your week is spent on serving your clients, working with your customers, or prospecting, as you said, or even like perfecting your scripts and the preparation part, right? Compared to, maybe you answered this with the mentoring side, like of coaching and supporting, which might just be you doing your business and letting people observe, and you're leading by example, right? That might be the way you're going about it. So would you say most of your time blocking is still on business generation, prospecting, those functions?
Yes, I get up every morning at 5:30, have my time, and get my hug and loves out of my husband and my little Maisie dog, and then we have breakfast, and then we talk, have our conversation, because if I don't take that time in the morning, at night when I get home, I'm exhausted. I've had and said all the words I want to say. So morning is my best time.
Yep.
By 9:00, I'm in the office and I'm texting or calling my data bank, which I started with 800, and now I've added, I'm up to about 2,000 people that know me, like me, trust me, and would refer to me. And I just stay in touch with them, and I call them, and I let them know that I'm thinking about them. How's their day going? And I now have started with the equity conversation. Those people that I sold 3 to 5 years ago, and of course I'm running up against Kathy, my interest rates only, and and I don't want to sell right now.
Right.
Okay, that's great. If you know somebody that needs to buy or sell, please let me know.
Yeah.
Just giving them information, and that's very, very, very lucrative when you start
That
talking.
makes a lot of sense. What percentage of your business would you say is through referrals?
I would say 90%.
Is that high?
Yeah.
Do you still do any sort of other marketing or campaigns that you've had that maybe that changed over the years as well, but do you still invest in those things?
Oh, absolutely. I've done many events and invited my customers. And right now I'm really focusing in on the high end. So I have a couple of high-end people that I'm taking out to dinner after Thanksgiving. We'll just have personal time and not in a big group. I like smaller groups. So I'll bring them. I mean, I have a particular restaurant that I like here in Tampa that I invite them to come to and have a reservation and treat them the way they need to be treated. They don't like gifts. They've got plenty of things. They don't need things.
Yeah.
They need time.
They want relationship.
And relationship.
And it's cool too, because I mean, I think sometimes agents don't realize that to be sustainable in this business, it really does boil down to the depth and the key of your relationships.
Absolutely.
Right? And how, is it truly reciprocal, where they believe you're really in it for their best interests. Because of that, they want to help you grow your business as well. That's really the key, I think, to probably any business, but I think real estate for sure. It fits into it's a relationship business. People always say that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It makes a lot of sense. And again, speaking from someone who has the experience behind you and the track record of success, like knowing that it's not like you have to invest millions of dollars in all these other forums just to be able to grow your business. It's about focusing on those key relationships and making it grow from there.
And making that tight center, those tight relationships that they love you, they trust you, and they want you to succeed because you've helped them to succeed by being in their life.
Yeah, we chatted at one of our panels that you came to maybe a couple months ago now about like what's next, right? We talked a little bit about the idea of legacy building and trying to create, whether it be a retirement plan or the exit strategies, right?
Right.
So is that still something that you're putting work into and thinking about and laying layers into how you'd want that legacy plan to look?
Absolutely. I'm working on it probably about an hour a day.
Okay.
Thinking about what would be the best track for me to take. I've been reading The Golden Handoff and making sure that all my systems are in play so that when I do hand it off, the person that comes in will be able to pick up where I am and continue to move it forward. And I've had several offers.
Nice.
Don't know which direction it's going to go
Just to sell
yet.
like your book of business, you mean?
Yeah. But I want to stay involved in it, in a sense. I don't want to lose that core group. I want to stay connected to them because that's where a lot of the higher end properties are coming from.
Right.
To sell.
Do you still think of the business as work necessarily, or
No.
do you just love it as part of what you do every day now?
It's what I do every day.
Yeah.
It's just become a part of me. However, I realize that it's time to take more time for me and for my family. So that's the direction I'm heading.
Yeah, let's talk about your family for people who don't know you that well yet on the personal side. I know you're married, and your husband, what type of business is he in now?
He owns his own business also. He's a financial, a fiduciary financial planner.
Okay, and I've met him. He's a sweetheart, and he definitely loves you.
Absolutely.
He came to our the event that we honored you at our MVP social at the rooftop at the Canopy in St. Pete, and it was cool to see him there. How many children do you have again, Kathy?
I have 3.
And how old are they?
Well, they're all mothers and fathers. I have 8 grandchildren, so they're
quite a legacy.
Yeah, my kids said, "I'll never get into real estate, Mom. I'll never get into real estate." However, they're not in real estate, but they know how to buy it and sell it.
Well, that's key. That's
So
part of real estate. Right?
do-
That's
they
real estate
do-
cues right there.
They do most of their
So
own.
they invest.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, are they local?
Nope. No one came back to St. Pete.
Okay.
My daughter lives in Bluffton, South Carolina, and she's married to a realtor.
Okay.
And then my 2 sons live in Santa Rosa Beach between Destin and Panama City.
Okay.
On the panhandle there. And they're both entrepreneurs.
So it gives you some places to travel to then when you guys want to get away, right?
The best places.
And you said you have 8 grandkids?
8.
That's awesome.
6 girls and 2 little boys.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That definitely is something that I can see why you might want to have that extra time, right? Is to watch the grandkids grow up a little bit more involved if you could be.
Yeah, I want to be more involved and be available to them if they need me.
What do you guys love to do for fun? When you're just trying to get out and enjoy some time.
Well, my husband is a big traveler. He loves to travel. However, he doesn't think traveling, if it involves more than 4 hours in the car, he's flying, number one. But he really enjoys Europe. And we enjoyed Venice and Italy. And, we would like to go back to that, do a little bit, have more freedom to be able to take 2 to 3 to 4 weeks off and do that again. So,
do you have a favorite country that you guys have been to?
Italy.
Italy? Yeah.
My favorite.
Very high on my list as well.
Yeah.
My wife is actually Italian, so that's probably part of the reason. I don't know. But she's never actually been there, which is ironic.
That is ironic.
I went years ago, even before when we first started dating, and I didn't go with her, but I went with a company thing that I was with, and we spent about 2 weeks out there. So it was very cool. Rome, Florence were the 2 main spots that we hit up for sure. So I got a couple rapid fire questions for you, just about for people, again, to get to know you more on the personal level. So do you have like a favorite book or author or maybe a seminar that you've attended that you feel like has made a big impact on you personally or professionally?
The Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller.
That's come up a couple different times on this podcast.
And it doesn't matter what business you're in. It's a book about business. And if you follow the models that are set forth in that book, there's no way you'll fail.
Yeah, no doubt. And have you used a lot of those principles for your coaching and mentorship as well?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. I'm reading it. I read it all the time.
Yeah.
And the Millionaire Real Estate time, I think it's on page 306. Your time slots and what you should be doing.
Yep.
It's right there. And do everything by 11 a.m.
Yep.
Then you have the rest of the day to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, I think people underestimate the power because it is so simple of time blocking, right? Like it almost goes in one ear and out the other for a lot of people. There's got to be something else, people think.
Everybody's looking for the magic bullet.
Right.
That's the
Sure,
magic
true.
bullet. Seriously.
Just
if you
execution. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Don't go chasing squirrels.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. If it wasn't for my Google Calendar and time blocking and just trying to figure out what are the key, and then once you have the thing planned out, asking yourself the question, are these really the functions that should be in my calendar, right?
Correct.
Just because they're in there, that's a good step, but are they really the right ideas? And that's where it comes into the whole, are these the most revenue generating activities that I should be doing, and figuring out how to delegate the ones that are not, that maybe somebody else can help you with.
Right.
That really is the key, I think, to be able to grow a business.
Well, the other thing that I know too that's helped me a lot is I run my business on quarters. I've already have 2024 planned, and I know exactly when I'm going to be on vacation. It's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
I know every month, what I need to do. 40 houses, 40 families. You've got it on your calendar,
Yeah.
and then the main thing is blocking your time with your family. That means more than anything to me, is having those time blocks when I know in the month of July I'm going to be at the beach with my grandchildren, and it's blocked out for 2024. I'm there. And if I want to take a trip, like I need something in October, I mean, I'm looking at what do I want to do next October, and putting it on the calendar, pay for it and go. If you don't pay for it, you won't go.
Yeah, it's tough to really be, I think, feeling fulfilled in a business if you're just winging it, right?
Correct.
And going by the seat of your pants. And so obviously there's a planning component to that. And it's the old adage where if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, right?
Correct.
I think that's part of the,
Correct.
There's some wisdom in that, I would say. Do you have a favorite TV show or movie?
The Chosen.
Oh, it's a great series. Yeah, I've been watching it too. What are they up to now? Season 4, is it? Okay. Yeah. Very cool. He does a great job playing Jesus, doesn't he?
He does. He does a great job. I'm like, wow.
Feels like you're really into like watching some real deal. I actually know one of the executive producers of that show is actually one of the owners of Real Producers.
Okay.
Believe it or not. He started N2, which was the parent company that owns Real Producers, but Real Producers became a division of the company. But anyway, him and one other gentleman, his name is Earl Seals, founded N2 back in 2004, and he's one of the executive producers of The Chosen, because the main producer, Dallas, who runs the whole show, they go to the same church together.
Okay.
And so he has helped fund it and all that stuff. So yeah, it's a great show for sure. A lot of good lessons to be learned in that as well, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
No doubt. What else is important to you, Kathy, that keeps you kind of feeling fulfilled in your business? I think people find it interesting that anybody can be successful for as long as you've been in real estate. But I know getting to know you, real estate's a part of your life, obviously a big part, but it seems like you're feeling, the impression I get is you feel more fulfilled by the other things, right? Your family, your relationships, your faith, I know is important to you. Give us a thought on how important it is for you to have that balance, that cohesiveness, and that, because real estate can be very consuming for a lot of people, but you seem to have really found that way to balance it all successfully. How do you think that's worked for you over the years?
It comes to balance. I mean, and understanding that I can't be all things to all people, and priorities. There we go. Sorry,
keywords.
I get it out of my word. Get it out of my mouth. Are important. And again, what am I doing today?
Yeah.
That's going to affect my week. That's going to affect my month, which will affect my year. What am I doing today?
And not even just from a business sense, just
anything.
What are the key relationships? How can I influence that today, right?
Right.
How can I add value to this particular person?
Right. And then that, if I fall off the curb and whatever, then I know that I can go back to the priorities and go back to the calendar. And Kathy, you didn't make your 10 calls yesterday. That means you've got to make 15 today. I mean, and challenging myself to stay true to what I've committed that I'm going to do. Commitment in all things.
Makes a lot of sense. Just like key core principles, right? That would be successful, I think, in any business owner out there, any entrepreneur that can adopt these principles. We can see that level of success, whatever the industry is.
Whatever it is. It doesn't matter whether it's real estate, if you're a doctor, I mean, it doesn't matter.
No doubt. Two quick things, too. What are some highlights that come to mind, in your career? Are there certain moments that resonate with you, that maybe it's awards you've won or things that have, you've been invited to, or whatever the case may be? Anything come to mind that you think back and you were like, these were really cool experiences?
Well, it's not just key experiences. It was pivotal points in my career. And I had the opportunity to be in relationship with my market center administrator, or team leader. He was my team leader at the time. And I just read on Facebook where he's in palliative care. His name is John Anderson. And John believed in me. And he was working with me. He says, Kathy, you've got to own your own building. We've got to buy a building. You've got to buy a building. I said, I don't have any money to buy a building. He goes, how much money do you need? I need, and I told him, he says, here, pulled out his checkbook and gave me a check. It was a massive amount of money at the time. And I said, "Do you want to be my partner?" He said, "No." And he said, "I believe in you."
Wow.
And to have someone believe in you, that was pivotal for me at that point.
That's awesome. And that just, again, speaks again to the closeness of your relationship, right?
Correct.
So I'm assuming that as you were building that relationship, you had no idea that it would lead to that, right?
Not, and my wildest imagination, never. And then I bought the commercial building. We used it as our office. I owned the franchise at the time. And then we sold the building. I sold the building 3 years later. And it's a commercial piece of property on 4th Street.
Wow.
So that set me up financially to move to other areas of investing, and it made me realize that people do believe in me.
Yeah.
And that was really an important part of why I've had the success I've had in St. Pete. And I was able to buy other properties, and we all know what buying investment properties entails. And
yeah.
And then I had a downturn back in '08. I almost lost it all in '08.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you the second question. The follow-up was, what are some of the biggest challenges that you felt like you had to overcome?
'08, I'm telling you, it was. I had overinvested and lost a lot of money. And so I guess what's kept me moving forward.
Were these in rentals at the time?
Yeah,
like just over-leveraged?
Moving it forward, yes, so that I could have the money that I needed for retirement. And I've made it all up. I, praise God, I'm debt-free and moving on, and have the money in the bank to retire if I choose to.
Right.
If I don't want to retire, I don't have to.
Right.
I mean, I have choices.
Yeah.
I have choices. We all have choices.
Right.
And how are we going to, use those choices to move ourselves forward?
When you think back to some of the challenges, does that make it even that much sweeter, though? Just like knowing,
absolutely,
knowing some of the things that you've had to. Because I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that it's the hard times that usually reveal our character, right?
Correct.
And it's funny how when you think back to some of the, at least I know in my life, some of the moments that were some of the hardest moments also had the purest, the purest lessons from them, right?
Right.
That made a big impact. And it sounds like in your case, it's a pretty powerful story that you just shared with the guy who believed in you, or willing to write you a check when in that moment. And it's just never know when those relationships are going to step up.
You just never know. And that's again, I just think about that, and I just marvel at what God did.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to wrap up with what I call one of our legacy questions, which I think you're the perfect person to answer this at this point, right?
Okay.
So as you've already started some planning, thinking about transitioning at some point, maybe you never will, who the heck knows, but at least it's a thought process. What do you think, Kathy, is most important to you in terms of what you would want to be most remembered for, whether this is business or personal? You can even combine both. But when you think about the importance of your legacy, right? What do you think you'd want to be most remembered for if you do end up stepping away from real estate and you just want to spend that time sitting on the rocking chair and enjoying some time? So what do you think that would be for you?
What impact did I make, and how many people did I impact for good? I want to know that I made a difference in the lives of people.
Yeah.
And being a giver as opposed to a taker.
That's awesome. And from what I can tell from the people that I know who rave about you from our at the awards banquet when you won that one award, I had a bunch of people say to me, I thought the highlight of the night was Kathy winning her award. So people definitely love you and feel that relationship, that you've invested in. So I think that speaks to what you just said, very much so. For somebody who might want to follow up with you, Kathy, who just wants to, pick your brain and learn from your experiences, or might just want to ask you anything, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
You can text me or call me, and my phone number is 727-580-6007.
Perfect. We'll get that in the description too when we throw it up on the YouTube channel. And so the way we end every episode, guys, is with a challenge. And I think there was a lot of things that we dove into here with Kathy that could be put to work, right? And the challenge is always the same. It is, what is one specific action step that you can take from this conversation that can help move you forward, right? professionally or maybe even personally. Maybe you have to pick up the book that Kathy mentioned that she thought helped her a lot. Maybe it's time blocking as an art that you need to practice on a more regular basis. Maybe you need to find a mentor or a coach like Kathy has provided many agents over the years. Whatever it might be, there's a lot of different things that we dove into: identifying your goals, working on your plan, asking yourself those weekly questions, those daily questions that Kathy brought out here. There was a lot of wisdom that she threw out here during our conversation that if you are not executing some of these things, some of these I'm sure you've heard of before, but are you actually putting them to work, right? And actually doing them? And maybe this was a good reminder for some of you to do that. But the goal, of course, of having this podcast is to help you guys become the real producer that you want to be. And I hope that you'll take some nuggets from this conversation to help you do just that. So we'll see you on the next episode, of course, of Tampa Bay Real Producers. Stay classy. We'll see you there. Bye. Titles